Chris and Dan show, I wanted to do a book review on Homer's The Iliad. And so this is a book that it was on my reading list for a while, and this is actually the graphic novel. But I read this and I really enjoyed this graphic novel adaptations by Gareth Hines. I read this while listening to the Penguin Classics audio version on Audible, which is amazing. And this was the first audiobook that I'm doing a review on for this channel or any channel. Because normally, I mean, I do listen to audiobooks. I just think when you do a book review, it shouldn't matter if it's the audio or the written or whatever. But this book, I've like the graphic novel is new. I got it to accompany the audiobook because sometimes when I listen and drive, my mind wanders. So what I do is I was listening to a few chapters ahead, and then I would go and read, and I'm using air quotes, like the comic style, chapter by chapter, which kind of brings you like if you were spacing off during the drive or the gym or the shower, it kind of catches you up. Now, purists will say, well, you should actually read the original by Homer. Well, the audiobook reads it and it's narrated really well. It's narrated really nicely. So that was my strategy. But I got a gist of this classic from, this was what surprised me. I had to research this because I was like, oh, it's pretty cool for somebody that lived, in like 80 BC before Christ. No, Homer lived in like 1100 BC. They don't exactly know when he lived, but it was around 1100, 1000 BC, like 700 years before Plato. I always assumed they were like in the same similar time period. They weren't. And this book's about the Trojan War, which is traditionally dated around 1200 BCE. So this is like the first really epic, like they call it an epic poem known in history, really, like Western history at least. I mean, there's been things written before, but in a story mode like this, it's really interesting. I think everyone should read it. It tells us something about humanity and how human beings, even though that's what 1200 BC, we're now in 2000 something, so 3200 years ago, people still have similar mindsets, similar mentalities. Our virtues changed a lot. It's interesting to like hear this and read about what people prioritized back then. But a lot of it was still around things like respect, fate, destiny, honor, personal pride, collective good, ego. There's a lot of that still around today. Lust, greed, jealousy. I liked the interplay between the gods. So there's like two stories here. There's the context of it, which is about 10 days in the Trojan War, and it's really about Achilles. Uh, but all the other characters. And then I didn't know too much about Greek mythology. So while I was listening, I went ahead and did some research and watched a really good 3 hour YouTube video on the Greek gods. And it's really cool. But there's like two stories happening here. There's the Greeks and the Trojans fighting, right? For the city for Troy. And then there's the gods and who like predestination. Zeus is the most powerful, but then he lets the other gods kind of get involved, and they take sides, and then they could change their minds. It's pretty cool. And it starts with Achilles and Agamemnon, who's like the leader of the Greeks. And Achilles is like the god. He's not a god, he's like godlike skills because he's part god. And then it just very human exchange of ideas and emotions throughout the book that leads to deep concepts like mercy and mortality, war. You learn about other characters like Hector from the Trojans and why they do what they do and motivation and inspiration and courage and what they call the virtues. And I tied it into another book I'm actually still reading. I'll do a review on it. After Virtue by Alistair McIntyre, which is totally different type of book. But he argues that we need to go back to like Greek virtues that we used to have. And this is where philosophy kind of stemmed from, like Greek mythology. It's from 1200 BC. I know there's other religions before that and other fables and tales, but it gives you a good glimpse into what drives us as human beings. And we know there's something about fate and destiny, and like Achilles and some of the other characters in the book knew what was in store for them, yet they still continued to do it because it's about the journey, really. And so there's shared grief that bridges enemies, mortality unites them. The gods are immortal, but the humans are mortal. And so in a way, what they're dealing with is more valuable and means more, has more meaning than what the gods are dealing with, even though the gods are way more powerful. So there's a lot of good stuff here. If you just read the book like I tried a couple of years back, I got the Kindle, I think it was like 99 cents. It's a tough read. Like, it's boring. A lot of it is just battles, and this person names everyone and whose sons they are, and the backstories of a lot of the characters. But if you listen to it, it's actually narrated really well. It's almost like a movie, like listening to a movie. You don't get the war audio effects and all that. That would be kind of distracting. Like I have listened to other audiobooks where they did have like kind of effects of sounds and music. This one was just well read, really well read. So I definitely recommend the Penguins Classic. And then I definitely recommend a graphic novel, but this is a really good one. I got at Barnes and Nobles for $10 on the clearance bin. And it was cool. It was timely because I was also listening to the book. And like I said, I drift off. This is why I prefer to read as opposed to listen. And why, when I have listened to really good books on Audible and I really like the book, I would go and buy it, the hard copy anyways, like I did with Solenoid, just because I don't want to miss things, and I know I always miss things. So this graphic novel kind of helped me really quickly catch up. So here's a recap of the chapter I just read, and it's like maybe 5 pages here, and this graphic novel is like 200 pages. Actually, more. It's closer to 300 pages. Very well illustrated, so I highly recommend that. And this was the stack I used to get the Iliad, the concepts of it in my head. And I'm gonna do the Odyssey next. I got the Odyssey graphic novel and I got the Odyssey Audible book. Hopefully it's as good. I'll do a review. Really interesting to uh, understand themes and how human beings, we've kind of come a long way since 1200 BC. But in many ways, we still have, like, you can see ourselves in these characters also, and the emotions, and those emotions, they don't just disappear because we got more advanced as a society. And there's some things where I think we're worse off as a society than they were back then. Mainly, we don't have as many virtues, we don't have the same amount of honor. We definitely, I think, are getting back to like pride for like national, like our countries and territories and things like that. Maybe that's good or bad thing, I don't know. But there's certainly values that they had back then that we are missing today from society. Although we, of course, have many other good things. And check it out. Let me know what you think. It's very interesting. It's probably the beginning of like fiction in Western literature, so it's super important by Homer. And it shocked me when I found out it was 1100 BC. I thought it was like 100 BC. No, this is old, old, old. Recommend the stack I did. Let me know if you get a chance to, or if you read it. Bye bye.